Who is ready for an episode comprised entirely of the ever so fun subreddit r/TIFU? You said? Okay, you are? All right, well, that's fabulous because that is what we got today on this edition of the RR Show. All TIFU. I'm Vince, so let's get the RR Show started right now. So our first story, of course, from r/TIFU, coming from Owl Jolson. TIFU by watching Planet of the Apes. I need to preface this story with the fact that this happened when I was young, but it's something that haunts me to this day. Friends and family will not let me live down the trauma that I have endured because of that stupid ape movie. To set the scene, the year is 2001. After years in development and anticipation, Tim Burton's reimagining of the classic Planet of the Apes has hit theaters. My father, who is a nerd for the monkey movies, takes 6-year-old me to go to the first showing at our theater. This started as a good bonding moment, father and son sneaking in snacks, watching angry monkeys together, but it slowly turned into something that hangs over me like a dark cloud. For the most part, I love the movie because I was a huge monkey kid. For some reason, I really liked them. So, seeing a movie that has talking monkeys enslaving humans was a roller coaster for me. I remember thinking they actually got monkeys to talk on camera because I'm dumb. My dad grew disappointed over the course of the movie and even asked if I wanted to walk out, but I enthusiastically begged him to stay. It was all fun and games until the end of the movie. If you are unlucky enough to remember the details of this movie all these years later, let me give you a rundown. Mark Wahlberg's enslaved character, Leo, finally flies out of the Planet of the Apes and crash lands back on Earth. He has crashed in front of the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and takes a look around. Everything seems fine until he sees Abraham Lincoln has been instead replaced with an ape, Ape-raham Lincoln. It's not a cute ape, by the way. It's a menaced-eyed, smirk-having, dictator-looking kind of ape. The way this entire scene was shot, the close-ups of Ape Lincoln, the shocking reveal music, the fear on Leo's face, it all sent this wave of primal fear throughout my body. So much so, I cried like a baby in the middle of the theater. So for some reason, this movie triggered a new irrational fear. Abraham Lincoln. I could not knowingly look at, hear of, or be around anything Lincoln related. $5 bills, history book, hell, even Lincoln Logs made me see the face of that damned dirty ape. I remember one time my grandma handed me a bunch of pennies and I just walked away. And you would swear I saw a monster manifest before me the way I screamed and sprinted out of the house. I was just terrified of him to a point that is hard to articulate. Now that you know this, I can get to the meat and potatoes of this story. So, the year is either 2003 or 2004. Everyone in my family is aware of this weird Lincoln fear and openly mocks me about it. We're on a summer vacation, and the family gets the grand idea to go to Disney in Florida. I'm a kid, so I absolutely love Disney and had a great time. But for some reason, my family thought it'd be funny to drag me, the kid scared of Lincoln, to the one and only Hall of Presidents. I remember thinking, yay, another ride. But when we got inside, I was wondering why nobody was strapped into their seats. All I remember was being blissfully unaware as to what we were going to be doing in this giant and dark room. I look at the stage and I see shadows of someone, but I assume it was someone getting ready to talk. Suddenly, everyone hushes as they prepare for their experience. The show's about to begin. All I remember at this point was that a spotlight turned on and revealed a life-size, realistic Abraham Lincoln robot. Before it could move a single gear, I remember thinking, he's alive? He's a robot? Is he going to walk off the stage and come near me? All in about 0.5 seconds. Then he begins to slowly rise out of his chair, opens his mouth. Everyone else in the Hall of Presidents is looking in awe of Robot Lincoln. And they finally get to hear 4 and... Ah! Apparently, my only response was to let out a blood-curdling scream from the front row. A scream that resulted in a gasp from the audience that is forever burned into my memory. I then jumped out of my chair, ran down the aisle towards the exit. I remember thinking I was the fastest kid alive and I was going to be safe once I got out. I got closer and closer to the exit, but before I could get there, everything just went black. To this day, all I remember was seeing Lincoln and running. That and waking up with several paramedics and my concerned family all kneeling around me, looking down at me. After it was established that I was okay, I was told because it was so dark in the hall, I didn't see the ropes blocking off the doors I was running towards. So when I did make it to the door, I was abruptly stopped by them. So pretty much I was clotheslined, slammed to the ground, and knocked out cold in front of hundreds of people. The whole incident resulted in the Hall of Presidents being shut down for the rest of the day. While this is embarrassing as hell, I think this incident may have knocked the fear out of me because, if I'm being real, I don't remember ever being scared of him after this. Continuing with the r/TIFU theme from user the SJ. TIFU by organizing my meds. Obligatory note that it was actually the day before yesterday. Anyway, I decided that now my out-of-stock pills had at last arrived, I'd get everything put into my really very useful pill container. It sorts them out by day and by AM and PM and keeps them in little separate compartments so that I can just grab the days I need and take them with me if I'm not going to be home. It's a much better system than having to rummage in my big pill storage box every day, trying to make sure I get the quantities right and trying to remember if I did take my morning pills already or not. I sat in bed that evening and went through everything in the rummage box. I popped each pill out into a little bowl, one type at a time, in the exact quantity I needed, and then put them all into the right containers. The next morning, I took it downstairs, put it back on the side table by the sofa, which is a place where the cats are much less likely to push it onto the floor, I found. I was so pleased with myself that I went and made myself an almost proper breakfast brunch, and then I did some reading for a nice change. I was definitely starting to feel more like myself after a few hard months, along with my ongoing health conditions, but I still managed to do a bit of cleaning in the kitchen that afternoon and treated myself to a really nice meal. I even managed to go to bed early, got on with some more reading. It was only as I was settling down that I realized I'd not taken my pills. Not only that, I'd not taken my morning pills either. I can't easily manage to go up and down the stairs twice without a bit of time in between, so I decided to read a bit more, and then I'd go down and get them. Big mistake. Of course, I fell asleep and didn't wake up until late next morning. My cats actually woke me up, which they never do. They'd rather stay in bed where it's warm. But I was so grateful to them because I was having the worst nightmare I can ever remember. And the last thing I recall from it was desperately trying to scream, but not being able to. I was in a complete state of panic when I woke up and overwhelmed with anxiety like I haven't felt in years. It was horrible. Everything around me looked wrong, and I felt almost completely disconnected from reality. I was shaky and dizzy, and it felt like the walls were moving and gravity wasn't working right. I managed to very carefully get downstairs, take my morning dose for that day, and then took the evening pills upstairs with me, along with a bag of sweet and salty popcorn, some candy, and a big drink. Then I went to bed, eventually felt okay enough to sleep again, happily with no more dreams. I know that I do dream, I must, everyone does, but it's extremely rare that I remember doing so or anything more than vague impressions and snatches of feelings. No visual mind and no visual memory doesn't help with recall. But I know that if I miss one type of my pills, I will suddenly start having really weird and vivid complex dreams. That plus missing my anxiety meds and anti-migraine pills made for a perfect storm. So, remember kids, trying to be organized only causes trouble. The third story in this r/TIFU episode comes from Scarecrow25. TIFU by listening to a doctor about an elective surgery. I've had varicose veins in my legs since my early 20s. I'm in my mid-40s now. My new primary care doctor was concerned about them because of a spot on my ankle that she thought was caused by the veins. She convinced me to take a referral to a vascular surgeon. I met with the vascular surgeon who told me how much better my life could be if I had the veins addressed. They told me how bad the flow in those veins was. They said they used to do a painful procedure to basically rip the veins out. However, now they had a procedure where they run something up the vein and burn it with a laser. They assured me that I'd be fine after a day or two. It wasn't difficult surgery or recovery, and that I'd be able to return to work the day after the surgery. To be clear, I'm not some wimp when it comes to pain. I have had knee surgery on the same leg a little over 2 years ago. The surgery that they were suggesting should be nothing compared to that. So Friday morning, I had the surgery. I was pretty okay Friday for the most part. Saturday, I was a little sore, but still went to work. Sunday was more pain. I missed work and tried to take a day to take care of myself. Then this morning when I got up, woken by severe pain at about 4 a.m. It's been severe pain all day. The doctor prescribed me pain pills after my knee surgery, so I took one. I felt sick, never took another. I just sucked it up and dealt with the pain. Today I've taken 5 of the hydrocodone they prescribed, and I still can't walk without a crutch. I missed work again today, something I never do. It's put me in such severe pain that I called the doctor's office to see if they could see me sooner. The doctor's office that informs me that what I'm going through is often normal, nothing to worry about, and to keep my leg elevated and move around as much as I can. That I just need to get through it. I wasn't very nice because of the severe pain. I'm not trying to be rude, it is just hard, I said. The doctor said 1 or 2 days at most. Then they told me when the veins are really bad like mine, or were, a nurse the day of the surgery said mine were the worst she's ever seen, that this isn't unusual. Basically, they told me to suck it up and not be a wimp. So now I get to enjoy the worst physical pain of my life until it is just finally over. Hopefully soon. The doctor is now waiting 5 to 7 days. To top that off, if I want an appointment before my scheduled follow-up this coming Friday, they want me to get another ultrasound of my leg, a leg that hurts severely over a light touch. There's no way in hell I'm letting them push that little wand into my leg. I'd probably pass out from the pain. Our final story in this r/TIFU episode comes from Midnightmare58. TIFU by Knowing How to Code. So I have to take a tech class as a graduation requirement in my school. It's important to note that I am utterly useless with anything that has to do with technology. Like, I'm that one person who slams my phone against the table until it starts working again. I didn't know what airdropping was until a week ago. So obviously, I was not excited to have to take a tech-based class. I decided to take computer science due to knowing the teacher and knowing he's awesome. The thing is, I transferred over from a magnet school and missed the first quarter of comp sci. So said teacher had to sit down with me and teach the basics of coding to me. He pulls up code.org and we start with the basics, but oddly enough, I'm flying through all of them. No explanation or anything needed. Neither of us can figure out why I already know how to do all this, when it's well known I'm clueless with technology. It was only halfway through that it dawned on me why. I'm sure if you're on Reddit, you'll be somewhat familiar with the fan fiction website Archive of Our Own, or AO3. Now, I post fanfics on AO3. And when I started, I didn't really know how to use the website. So I fooled around a bit with it, and I just kind of started to learn how the website worked. For those of you who haven't ever posted a work on AO3, it's not very simple, and you have to fool around with it. After you enter in your writing in the box and post it, it doesn't always transfer over the way you write it, in terms of spacing, italics, and bolded or underlined words. When you go into edit, there's a bunch of weird stuff in there that's been changed, which I had realized in the middle of class was code. And by taking the initiative to learn the workings of the website by picking it apart and hyperfixation, I had taught myself the basics of coding. I realized this changed races with how mortified I was at this discovery. I blushed so hard I was just completely pink. And then my teacher, who I was very close with, insisted I tell him how I knew how to code now that I realized this. And that's how I screwed up. Enough that I actually had to explain what AO3 was and why I was writing on it so often that I was actually ahead of the class in coding skills. Which included discussing what I wrote about to my teacher and the several people sitting around his desk, which led to discussions about a bunch of odd stuff, even the Omegaverse. And yeah. I don't even like the Omegaverse guys. I've never written an Omegaverse fanfic, nor do I read them. No shame, it's just an amazing concept. But having to explain that concept to a bunch of sane people is... yikes, I'm mortified. And so is our teacher. So, yeah. So thanks for being with us. The RR Show is a production of Evergreen Podcasts and Wessler Media. Now, if you'd be so kind, please follow or subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're feeling extra nice, you might as well leave a 5-star review. But for more, visit the website, rrshow.com. That is rrshow.com. I'm your host, Vince. Thank you to my producer, Kevin, and we'll see you next time here on The RR Show.